Welcome to An Apple a Day, a podcast, a resource, a community. Share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy, healthy life with a disability. Welcome to the community. Here's your host, Jimmy Apple.
Welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. I'm your host, Jimmy Apple. How you feeling today, my friends? You feeling good? You feeling strong? You feeling better than you did yesterday? Excellent. You can't ask for better than that. We have got a good one for you today. A very serious one. We're going to be dealing with the disease Anorexia Nervosa. I'm sure everyone's heard of the term anorexia or anorexic. Unfortunately, too many people use the term anorexic as a joke. You know, you look at somebody and you go, "Oh, you're so skinny, you look anorexic." There's nothing funny about this. Believe me when I tell you. I'm sure if you know anybody that suffers from anorexia, you know it's not a joke. And believe me, if you've been listening to this podcast for the last couple of months, you do know somebody that suffered from anorexia. Our own Erin Fernandese, the host of The Vegan Possibility. And we're going to discuss her story today with her. And believe me, it's hard when you have to discuss your own story. But it's very important because Erin, as you know, has suffered 2 strokes. And that's what's put her in the position that she's in. She can't walk. She has a hard time with her speech, but she's getting better each day. She's legally blind. And what caused all of this? That joke that they use on TV or that you use with your friends. "Oh, you look anorexic." Well, anorexia is what caused these major problems in Erin's life. Anorexia almost stole Erin's life. As a matter of fact, anorexia steals people's lives every day. That's how serious this disease is. That's the reason we want to share this information with you. It's so important that you're aware of what anorexia can do. So I want you to sit back for a second and listen to this information I want to share with you.
What is anorexia nervosa? Anorexia nervosa is a psychological illness that has devastating physical consequences. It is characterized by low body weight and body image distortion with an obsessive fear of gaining weight, which manifests itself through depriving the body of food. It often coincides with increased levels of exercise. There are 2 main subtypes of anorexia. Restricting type. This is the most commonly known type of anorexia nervosa, whereby a person severely restricts their food intake. Restriction may take many forms, example, maintaining very low calorie count, restricting types of food eaten, eating only 1 meal a day, and may follow obsessive and rigid rules, example, only eating food of one color. Binge eating or purging type. Less recognized. This type of anorexia nervosa forms when a person restricts their intake as above, but also has regularly engaged in binge eating or purging behavior, example, self-induced vomiting, overexercise, misuse of laxatives, diuretics or enemas. Who gets anorexia nervosa? There is no single cause of anorexia, but there are risk factors that increase the likelihood of anorexia developing. These can be cultural, biological or psychological. Anorexia nervosa usually develops during adolescence and generally has an earlier age of onset than bulimia nervosa and binge eating disorder. The latter are often developed during late adolescence or early adulthood. However, like all eating disorders, anorexia can develop at any age or stage of life for both males and females. It is a myth that only adolescent girls experience anorexia. In this episode of An Apple a Day, our own Erin Fernandese is discussing her personal battle with this horrible disease that almost robbed her of her life. Now, back to Jimmy Apple.
Now, I don't want you to think that this podcast is going to be a full comprehensive coverage of the disease Anorexia Nervosa. No, it's a peek in the window of what Anorexia Nervosa is. And it's being done by example. It's being shown by example through Erin's experience. And I think this might be a good podcast for you to sit down maybe with your teenage kids and listen to this. Now, I want to forewarn you, it's a little bit disgusting in spots because we're telling you the truth as it is. We're not sugarcoating this. This is a vile, disgusting disease. It's not only a physical disease, this is also a mental disease. And this is something that you can't tell your kids or a loved one, hey, walk it off. Don't worry about it. You're going to hear this where Erin's parents actually tried to tell her, forget about it. Walk away from it. Don't let people know about it. This isn't something that can be hidden. This is a real disease. So real that this can take your loved one's life. This is not something to be swept under the carpet. And like I said, it's disgusting. It's so disgusting. And I'm speaking from firsthand experience myself. I was never anorexic, but I was married to a woman at one time that was severely anorexic. And I seen firsthand what this can do to a person. And believe me, you don't want to live through it if it's your kids or a loved one. Believe me when I say that. Now, I want to leave you, before we go over to Erin, I want to leave you with a sound. Yes, a sound of what anorexia and bulimia sound like when your loved one is going through this at one of its worst parts, at one of its worst stages. I want to leave you with a little card here of what it sounds like. Hold on one second. This is not pleasant for anybody, especially the person that it's affecting. But think about the people around them, the people that are in the home around them. But the person that it's affecting, just think for yourself on those rare occasions that you do have to vomit, that you do have nausea. Think about how you feel. Now this person is doing this to themselves, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day. This is not healthy. This is killing them. Listen, at the end of the podcast, we're going to have resources that you can go to if you think one of your loved ones is suffering from anorexia. We're also going to have some tips. There'll be some tips in the story that Erin's telling you to look for that maybe you can spot if your child or your loved one's in trouble. There'll be some more tips and tricks that you can do to spot if there is a problem in your household or with a loved one or a child at the end of the podcast. So stick around to the end. This is very important. And like I said, this might be a good podcast to sit down and listen to with a teenager. It's a tough one, but it's a necessary one. Okay? Let me go and I'll get Erin and let's get started here. So sit back, relax, and we'll kick it off. All right, I'm here with Erin Fernandese, and today we're talking about a very serious subject. We're talking about anorexia nervosa and bulimia. And you hear this term thrown around a lot, but it doesn't hit home until it hits someone that you know or you love very, very much. And it could be a friend, it could be a family member, and in this case, it's our own Erin. How you doing today, Erin?
I'm doing very good, thank you.
Erin, I know that you went through a rough patch when you were younger. And I'm not going to say much younger, but younger. And couldn't resist. But you went through a rough patch when you were younger. And I want to explain a little bit of this. Anorexia, people think of anorexia and they think of girls and they think of them wanting to fit into clothes and they want to slim down. They think it's a minor thing when they hear anorexia. Sometimes they think of it as a joke that, oh, you're so skinny, you look anorexic. It's far from a joke. Yeah. Anorexia is a mental disease as well as a physical disease, and it's a disease that can kill you. It can give you physical harm. You can do physical harm, permanent physical harm, as it did in your case, right?
Yes, yep. That's
And
I'm my prime example.
exactly, it could have killed you. Is it just as what? Only a couple of years ago. Now,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I'd say it started when I was 13 and ended when I had my stroke at the age of 30. But I'd say that there were 2 or 3 years within that time. I kind of was acting more on it, but not being bulimic, but I was being very choosy with what I ate. So I was still very thin. But I'll explain to you how it all started. It all began when I was 13 years old. I was chubby as a kid. I was not obese, but I was that 13-year-old prepubescent child. So I started gaining a little bit of weight, and my siblings, my brother and my sister, were all sticks in. They were all twigs. So I was always the big one. And my brother and sister would always tease me and make fun of me, as kids do. And my mom would always say, "She's not fat, she's just big boned." Now, people have seen me on Facebook. I don't know if you follow my page. I'm not clearly not big boned. Like nothing, there's nothing big about me. So I knew in my head that my mother was lying in a way and just got to stick up for me. But her putting me on dealing meal meant that she thought I was fat too. And it really did a number on me. And dealing meal, what people don't know, is that Richard Simmons saying it's back in the 80s, 90s. I'm taking you all back. So it was a program. They had the exercise tapes, sweating to the oldies, etc. And put me on that, and I was doing good for a while. But then as I started losing weight, people started being nicer to me, and noticed like, oh gosh, like my mom would take me out to go shopping to buy me new clothes, or I would get to have ice cream, which I usually couldn't have as a treat because I was losing weight. So I was rewarded for that behavior. It was almost like a dog, like you reward your dog. He did something good. He didn't pee on the floor. So he just gets a treat. So in my 13-year-old head, I was like, oh, this is good. I'm going to keep losing weight. So then I took it way too far. So then I started strictly walking and running and saying that I was probably 13, 14 years old now. I started running. I would walk down the street, but then I would start running from away from my house. So I started running secretly. But then I would walk back like I just walked. It took a like 2 mile walk or something. Everything was secretive about it. But I didn't know what I was doing. It's like I didn't know what I had. I just knew that I wanted to be thin, and being thin was good. And my dad always made fun of fat people. I make my parents sound horrible, but they really were just ignorant. They didn't know any better. So, but then as I started losing weight, people started being nicer to me, and like boys started asking me out. Boys started noticing me, and everything just get better. So to me, that was reinforcing being thin is good. Being thin, get skinnier. And eventually, gosh, when my lowest weight was 86 pounds, and I'm only 5'1", so I'm not a tall person, but that's skinny for a person. And I'd say now I probably weigh 100 pounds, and now I'm healthy, happy. Obviously, I am disabled. I'm legally blind. I use the walker or a wheelchair. I'm very sedentary. My life is totally different. So from what it became. So
Let me ask you, didn't your parents notice, though, that you were losing too much weight?
they did, but then I remember them talking with my friend's parents. My friend, her husband was a doctor, and they were talking in the other room. And I remember my dad saying, "All I want to do is, I don't care if she eats apples all day long, just eat something." But it was kind of like just I was not going to eat. I was not going to eat, or I was going to sneak eat, or sneak. But then what happened is they started forcing me to eat. So then I got the idea, I'll throw up. I'll throw it up. So at first I was just purely anorexic for a good 2 years. But then when they started forcing me to eat, I thought, ta-da, this is perfect. I have the best idea. I can eat and appease them, and I can be me, and I can throw up, and so keep the food away from me and not gain any weight. It was just bad, but they did notice. And there was lots of fights, lots of dinner times where I would legit put all the salad dressings in front of my food plate so my mother and father couldn't see my food plate from across the table. That was like in a 14-year-old head, that was the solution.
You were
So
building a food fort.
yeah, building a food for, so or like hiding at Thanksgiving dinner, hiding my turkey in my mashed potatoes, so like just kind of smooshing it in there, and also just it was really bad. It was just bad. But I'd say nothing was worse than when I started being bulimic. Being bulimic, that's where things really got bad because
Explain what being bulimic is.
being bulimic is when you eat a large amount of food and then you make yourself throw up. You stick your hand down your throat, do whatever you need to do. You make it. Some people use the pack. That's some people use that to make themselves throw up as a medicine, but just making yourself throw up. And I was more of a person who ate food. I never ate junk food. I would eat like an egg, a huge bowl of scrambled eggs, a huge bowl, and I would eat like a big bowl of pasta or some pizza. Like I was more of a food person, and then I would just throw up. You think of bulimics as eating Oreos and ding dongs and all the candy and stuff like that, but I ate more food. So I think honestly, my body was just hungry. My body was probably telling me, "I'm hungry. Please let me eat." So, but I wouldn't allow myself to eat. But when I started the vicious cycle of bulimia, gosh, that I'd say from 15 till 30. So that's good majority of portion of my life. And it just got so exhausting because you're constantly tired and you're constantly depleting your body. And I wouldn't always eat and throw up, like only after certain meals, but I eat and throw up. Like there are certain meals that I would eat in public, like I went out to dinner or went out on a date or something like that. I didn't do that then.
I was going to say that has to be pretty sickening.
Yeah, that would not do that then because that was kind of just no, that'd be gross,
Yeah, really.
But I don't know why that was any more different to me than like why that was gross and me just doing it on my own. It was not gross.
You're out on a date.
Yeah. So,
going to the movies afterwards.
But I'm sure some people have. I'm sure some people do. That's I can maintain the control. Like, but when I would do it, it's like I had no control of my own self. Like I would eat this massive amount of food, and I would look like I was 9 months pregnant, and then I would go to throw up, and it was just I hated myself. I legit hated myself, and it was so lonely, so sad feeling, and so miserable. Just like I legit like I thought, well, I'm not gonna live very long, so I may as well just like have some fun and like do the not have some fun, but like just do whatever, because I'm not gonna live very long. Like I knew I didn't have much to live for. Like it was really depressing and really, but I think that was at the bulk of it. That was really sad and depressed.
But you're thinking you're not gonna live very long, but you're going out on dates.
Yeah, so I was living life, but I wasn't living. I wasn't. Like I was just going through the motions. Like I feel like a doll. Like I just wanted everything to. I wanted to have all my accessories and just like look pretty and look nice and just go. And I don't want to actually live. I don't want to do the day-to-day stuff. Like the day-to-day. I just wanted to like be when you watch the movies. I don't know.
Right.
I can't explain it.
No, I understand what you're saying. But now I have to ask this also. You're living in a house with your brother, your sister, your mother, your father.
Yep.
And you're in your room vomiting.
Yeah. The point I went into it in my room. At the point I always went to the bathroom. I did it.
Well,
I would take a shower.
But that's what I mean.
Take a shower. Yeah.
But
no.
They didn't smell that.
No. I always use the air freshener, and you figure my eating sort of started when I was 13. Like I say, bulimia started when I was like 13, 14. So my fiance didn't even know. He knew, he had an inkling, but not until really I told him. Like, yeah, and this was the one I was probably 25, 24, 25. And we had gone to college together. Like, people, I went away to Europe or see to college, traveled abroad. People didn't know. Everyone know. Maybe people suspected or thought something was like odd about me, but I was such a good hider. And when you're that good at hiding a part of you, don't ever get to really know anyone. You don't let anyone in because I was so afraid someone would see the real me and not like it, or I didn't even like it. So how would anyone else like it? So
Right.
it was really so it's like it was really I was living a double life. I was living like it was just miserable. And I was very very sad. But at that point, I didn't take any antidepressants. I did try to get help. I remember back in the day when I was younger, I did ask my mom when this first came to like I told her I was throwing up and things like that, and she got really mad at me. And then my dad actually broke a coffee table, so
He
that was
broke a
it. And it was
coffee
yeah,
table?
yep. He slammed his hand down on the coffee table, said I'm just gonna stop, and I just never talked about it again with him. So and my dad broke a coffee table, so I did ask my mom. I pulled her aside and I said, I know that this girl, and this was back when I was 14. I know there's a girl that goes to the local hospital, and there's an eating disorder group that is they have. And my mom said to me, I don't know why she said this, but the more I think of it, the more I think my mom was not so great, but said to me, well then everyone will know if you go to that support group because she'll tell everyone. Do you want to go? Because everyone will know that you have an eating disorder. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go at all. So it was kind of like now looking back, if my daughter, I don't have the kids or children, but
Mm-hmm.
if my daughter or son said to me, hey, I have this problem, and I knew she was kind of throwing up, or I knew she was eating, or restricting her eating, and she said to me, can I go to this clinic? I would be like, yeah. I would say, oh, well, everyone
In a
will know.
heartbeat. In a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
So that's where and I think my mom may have had some minor eating issues as well. She never really talked about it, but she was always tiny. And she was always proud of herself. She was 108 pounds, 108 pounds. Whenever she got over that, oh man, she would look up. No, she wouldn't do anything crazy, but she like would just make sure she got back to under her weight. So, but so she had probably had some mental issue, with it as well too. Not mental issue, but
Your mother and
some
my mother must have been related.
yeah, yep. So, but yeah, I just hoping to share the like education and awareness what the podcast is all about.
But
That
I wanna
things
ask
can
you now,
happen.
didn't all the bulimia
Yeah.
now just recently, didn't it affect your teeth?
Oh
The
gosh, yeah,
enamel
yeah,
on your teeth?
yeah. The bulimia, it certainly has. The bulimia affected my teeth a lot, and what first had happened was when I was first, I was probably 25, and I was trying to get help. I was going to like a night treatment program. I was, doing out, outside treatment, and I had this idea of my dentist said I told him I didn't like my teeth because I told him I was bulimic, and I was trying to get help for it. I'm getting better, and he said, "Oh, I can get veneers," and I'm like, "Oh, wow." I can get veneers because I didn't like how my teeth looked a little thin. They looked a little see-through from all the enamel being worn off.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the worst thing I could have ever done because getting veneers or crowns, whatever you call them, they break. They're no less forever. So now I'm forever having to deal with. I have a partial denture right now because my veneer broke. My veneer like fell out. It fell out, and they cannot put it back in.
Right.
So I have to wear a partial denture. I'm like 42 years old. I'm not an old lady. I don't want to be wearing a partial denture. So I'm gonna have to pay for a dental implant. And I know that's my decision, but that's $5,000.
Right.
So, but I don't want to be. I'm not sure if you can notice, but I'm talking with a little lisp here because I'm missing my tooth because I don't wear the denture when I talk because it sounds like I have a gobstopper in my mouth.
Right.
So yes. But and then both my back molars, I've had to have pulled because they were so infected. They had to have root canals, my back molars, and now I cannot chew. Like everyone loves potato chips or things like that. I can't have potato chips or hard crackers, really hard things. The Stacy's potato chips, like Stacy's pita chips. I love them, but I can't eat them because they hurt my mouth.
Right.
It's like, so it's not a big deal, but it's just like, it just.
It
Yeah.
is because the reason I'm asking you this is because I want to point it out to people that are the young people.
Yes. Yeah.
That are doing this now, or even considering doing this now.
Yeah.
This is what you have to look forward to. And I don't mean to put you
Yeah.
on the spot, Erin.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah.
And I'm kind of using you as an example.
Yeah.
But for people that are doing this, or for parents that suspect your kids are doing this,
Yes.
this is something that you can explain to your kids, that this is what they have to look forward to.
Yes.
Your teeth thinning out, you're not being able to eat a potato chip.
Yeah.
I mean,
my hair got really thin before I went vegan. My hair was so thin, so thin. It was like it looked like if I didn't curl my hair at all, it looked like I had two little spots on my head. It was so thin. Yeah.
And
So.
it's things that and I'm not saying, put it this way, and I'm not gonna really cut you a big break. I'm not gonna say it wasn't your fault, because you did it.
Yeah. No.
I'm not gonna say it was 100% your fault, because there was issues going on also.
Yeah.
So so, and what the point of this is, that we're trying to do is, like Erin said, educate.
Yeah.
So that parents can look at their kids and see, and not be like her parents, or be like my parents would be.
Yeah.
And say, oh, push it under the rug. Don't let people see that you're having problems.
Yes.
Help your kids when you see something like this. Now, that's the other thing, Erin. Well, let's stick with this. The after effects of it. It's one thing you're going through it. Now, I knew somebody that they were 18 years old and weighed 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And it came time for their high school graduation. They couldn't go.
Wow.
They ended up in the hospital because they couldn't stand on their own 2 feet. It's a sickness. It's such a vile, disgusting sickness.
Yeah. It is disgusting. I used to always say I look pretty on the outside, but if someone saw me in the inside, my body is all disgusting and raw. I just choose to. I don't feel that way anymore, but I used to feel that way all the time. Like I was just so disgusting on the inside.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And the funny thing is, it's always like the nicest people that have the worst body image of themselves.
Yes.
And they think that they're doing something better for themselves by making themselves look like a walking, talking skeleton.
Yeah.
And look what happened after the fact. Now, all right, the teeth were bad. That's bad enough. Now, then you had the stroke.
Yep. Had the strokes, my stroke was not from high blood pressure or from a blood clot or anything like that you normally have a stroke cause. My stroke was caused from low potassium levels and low volume levels. I'm not sure exactly, but I know that I was on potassium pills for a long time after my stroke, and now I'm not on it anymore because I get enough nutrients in my body by my current diet. It was bad for a long time, and if I missed potassium, I would pass out sometimes. Even after the couple of years after, it was still an issue. So, no, I would just say it's an ugly disease.
And the thing is once you have a stroke, guaranteed, it's almost 100% guaranteed that once you have one stroke, there's another one waiting in line to hit you.
Yep. And that's what mine was.
Exactly.
Yep. Six. I was walking. I could walk. Everyone thought when I was at my rehab hospital that I was the worker there. That I just hurt my leg or something. I functioned that well. People thought I was a nurse or a CNA or staff person. And I was like, no, I'm a patient, because I walked around. I could walk around. I could go into the fridge. I could do things. I could maintain my balance. I had no problems at all. I walked freely. And after my second stroke, it basically, I say, destroyed me. And now I can only use the walker or a wheelchair. And obviously because of COVID and things like a lack of therapy, I've just gotten even worse, because it's just not worse, but I know that I can get back there. That's why I try to do my bike, a couple times a week. I try to do my floor exercises. Like if people follow my group page, they know what I'm talking about. But I try to keep up what I'm doing. That way, when this virus does go away, whenever it does, if I can actually get it out into the real world and maybe go to physical therapy, or maybe a dream of dreams, I would love to do water therapy. That would be awesome. That's great for me. But that's all in the future. So we'll take it each day at a time.
But this is all, now believe it or not, this is all from eating.
Yep.
or lack of eating.
Yes, lack of eating, yeah, or eating and throwing up,
Yeah,
eating
eating and
and
evacuating.
yeah, in my mind, you know how you talk to yourself in your own little brain, so I would always say, like, I feel like I'm just a holding cell for the food. I'm not really eating the food. I'm eating it and throwing it up. So that's why I would eat McDonald's. We eat like things I would not even normally ever conceive of eating. I would eat like pizza, McDonald's, like stuff like this, like, or bountifuls of eggs, and but because I felt like I wasn't really eating it, and I was just a holding cell for it. But then of course you don't always get everything all up, so you do have some nutrients in there, so it's kind of like that. That was the one benefit that probably helped me, because it probably gave me like a little bit of nutrients to actually survive that long. So
Really?
yeah.
Now,
So
Erin, if a parent doesn't know anything about this, what are some of the things they can look at? Now, one thing I do want to point out before we even get to that,
yes.
a lot of people think that anorexia only affects girls. That's a big
Yeah,
false.
misconception. Yeah.
That's false. Anorexia affects both boys and girls.
And bulimia too. Yeah.
And bulimia, eating disorders affects boys and girls.
Yeah.
It's not just for girls. It's not just girls that want to get into bikinis. It's
Yeah.
boys that want to get with girls that want to get into bikinis.
Yeah.
But it affects boys and girls. It's not
Yeah.
just for females. And do you know 25% of the boys that are affected by anorexia, 25%, according to the national, what is it? The National
National
Eating
Eating Disorder Association.
25% of the boys affected by anorexia nervosa end up dying.
How crazy.
25%. Can you imagine that?
Yep.
And this is all from an eating disorder.
Yep.
So
It's
you got to watch your kids. Now, Erin, what can parents look for? Like some signs that maybe their kids are in trouble with an
I
eating
would
disorder.
I would say really like restrictive eating, like maybe saying, oh, I don't want to eat that, it's if your kid doesn't want to eat pizza because she'd rather have the salad, but maybe that's her choice. But I would say, when you know that it's a thing, that it's becoming a ritual, or
Okay.
it's becoming, yeah, if you notice that something is becoming a ritualistic, or they only eat certain foods, I would say talk to them. Don't do what my parents did to me. Don't yell at them or make me feel bad. And if your kids ask for help them. This is what happens when you don't help your children. I'm a prime example of what I feel a former eating disorder patient was, so it's, not to say if all your kids are going to have strokes or things like that, but it is what could happen, or even worse, I could have died. So I was in a coma for 2 weeks, and they didn't know if I was going to live. And I was totally blind when I first woke up, and I could not move. So we didn't know what was going to happen to me. So, but I would say just to help them, and maybe watch what they're eating and talk to them about it. Talk to them about healthy nutrition. And I'm of course, I've since been vegan past 4.5 years. And that has helped me tremendously. Because it's no longer about the food for me. It's no longer like, I cannot believe that I even ever consumed McDonald's and things like that. But even more so, I cannot believe I ever did that with, like, being vegan now. It's like, I can't fathom the idea, but I did, and I certainly did, and I certainly liked it. So, but it talks about healthy nutrition and healthy body image, and if your kids like start gaining weight or something like that, like, don't make them feel bad. Teach them how to exercise. Maybe go for family walks, or just be motivated. Be the role model. Because my parents, they like, I consider them to be good parents. But as I'm getting older, and getting to that age now, I'm kind of like having a, maybe they weren't that good, but so, and just be the role model and talk to them and explain to them. Like, it's like, I think if my mother really talked to me, or if someone ever really came to me and said, Erin, hey, listen, it's okay. Because anytime I ever told somebody, it was always held against me. Like, anything I told my mother ever, or anything I told my sister ever, it was used against me and hold it over my head. and be like, oh, but you said this or you said that. Yeah, but it, I said that to you in confidence, so it was like I could never trust anyone. And so that's what even made me go into the eating disorder even more. I had a lot of friends in high school and in college, but they were on the surface friends. I had no really close friends. They were on the surface. It was kept them at bay, and I believe that was a lot from the eating disorder. So I never developed fully relationship. Even my fiance, when I was after I got out of college and into my the 20s, and we were not as close or as close as you'd think you would be, So I think it held me back from a lot of things.
Well,
So.
I do want to say this to parents. If you go in your child's room, now I'm not saying go in and search your kid's room.
Oh yeah, and that's what I hated. My mom would always do that.
But if you do go in your child's room and you happen to see maybe a box of laxatives,
Yeah.
or you happen to see stockpiles. Now, I'm not talking about a couple of candy bars
Yeah.
or, a couple of cookies. I'm talking about stockpiles of
Yeah.
candy bars and stockpiles of cookies, like family-sized packages of cookies or cakes or something. Those are warning signs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are extreme warning signs, actually, that
Yeah.
your kid has a problem, because that's what they do to binge. They binge and then they purge. They'll eat that
Yeah.
and then go somewhere and puke it up, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is kids that have garbage bags in their room.
Yeah.
They're not, kids don't clean up their rooms that often that they have a package of garbage bags.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they use those. Look for things that they may sound like they're nothing, but they stand out. Like I said, stockpiles of cookies and candy, maybe 6 packs of soda, anything sugary that can fill up a body, carbonated drinks, because it fills up and then they purge.
Yeah.
And believe me, all of that purging is going to not only affects their teeth, not only affects their bones, but like with Erin's case, affects their nervous system, they'll end up with a stroke. They could end up with a heart attack.
Yeah.
It could end up killing them. And parents have to be vigilant. It's very important. And not just for kids. This could be, like Erin said,
Oh, yeah,
she was
for
in her
older
20s.
adults, too. Yeah. Yeah. I was in. It lasted a lot long, because I had my stroke in my 30s, so it was
Right.
When I was 30. So it's not like when I turned 30 or right the day before I was perfect, So I was probably I probably ate and threw up and did whatever I did right before then. So
I mean, you could be anorexic in your 50s.
yeah. Oh yes. When I went to Renfrew Center in Florida, and there was a woman. I believe she was like in her 60s, and her husband would come visit her every day, and it was so loving and so nice. But it was so sad that she's in her 60s and supposed to be enjoying her life and enjoying her retirement, but yet she's it was, and I know it's not something that you can just get over it. It's a mental issue, and it takes years, and it takes a lot of therapy and understanding and just acceptance of yourself and being who you are. But it was so sad because it's like I looked at her and I thought to myself, I don't want to be that. But even though I was probably 23 years old at that time. So, but I thought, oh, well, I don't want to be that. But who knows? Maybe if I didn't have my stroke, maybe it would have been that. Maybe it would have been her in my 60s and still having an eating disorder. And then still, because I believe my stroke kind of saved my life, So, in a weird way. Yeah.
But that's the other thing too. Don't think that you can tell your kids or your family or your loved ones that, just walk it off, forget about it.
Yeah.
This isn't something that you just walk off and forget about. You can't, like Erin's father banging a coffee table.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't bang your way out of this. This is something that needs professional help. Would you tell someone that has cancer, go walk it off?
Yeah, yeah.
You can't. This is a disease.
Yeah.
This isn't someone that went crazy on Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
This is a disease, and it has to be treated as such. And the last thing you need, especially with everything else going on in the world, is your kid starving himself or herself to death right in front of your eyes, and you're doing nothing. It's sad, but thank God, Erin, that you're okay. I mean, you're okay to a point. I mean, there's certain things that
certain things.
Things that maybe a bang on the head with a coffee table might help.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, thank God you're okay. I mean, for everything that you went through. But if you're a parent or if you're a kid listening to this, listen to what she's telling you.
Yeah, and if you want to talk to me, you can find me on Facebook.
You can find her on Facebook.
Me,
You can find Erin on Facebook at famousapple.com/that vegan disabled gal. Now, her contact information is going to be in the show notes for this podcast. It's in the show notes for every podcast we do.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to get in touch with her, that's how you do it. Go right on there, join her group, and you can talk to her. She's always on her group page.
Yeah, I'm always on.
Trust me, you can reach her at 6 in the morning or 6 at night or midnight. Just go on there and type in Erin, and she'll come right back.
like a genie, rubbing a genie lamp.
Yeah, and that's all. Just you can just tap on your screen. She'll answer you. She's always there.
But before we close out, I don't know if you're closing out, but I would just like to say how being vegan helped me so much, because it became about choosing the compassionate, ethical thing, not one to contribute to more harm. And that way, feeding myself was feeding my body and feeding and nourishing my body. And so I want to do this. So I'm going to eat some oatmeal because it's heavier than, eating a piece of toast or something like that, because I'm going to do my bike today, or I'm going to do, like before, when I used to go to the gym, I used to have a breakfast every morning and things like that. And I used to, make sure I had a good breakfast. And, and this was after my first stroke, but before my second stroke, when I could still walk and things like that. But I still did not feel like I could eat whatever I wanted. I still felt like very restrictive. But once I became vegan, my whole mindset as to using food, I no longer looked at food as good or bad food, or it's like it was just food. It was it was protein, it was vegetables. It was gonna nourish my body, and not just I'm gonna have a cheat day, so I'm gonna eat some pizza. Yeah, I still have pizza, but it's vegan pizza, so with cauliflower crust, and it's just so much healthier for you. So I wish I had become vegan all the years ago, because I sometimes the meals I eat, the size of the meal I eat, like at dinner time, sometimes would be the size of a meal that I would have normally thrown up. But because it's all good food, it's all healthy food, and not in that mindset anymore. I don't feel the need to. I don't feel the need or the desire, because it's all good food. It's all healthy, nutritious. Added for me. So it's not like I feel guilty, like you ate a big plate of fried clams or something like that. You feel gross and disgusting, or you just want to take a nap. So, but I think for me, it helped me look at food in a way as what it should be, how you should look at it as food or source for nourishment, and not as good or bad. Yeah, I know if I'm making any sense. But
don't ask me.
No, but how people say seafood is good or bad, or that's good. A salad is healthy, but McWhopper is bad, but it's good and bad. In the eating disorder world, you put food you compartmentalize them into a good and bad settings, so there's some foods I've never even considered eating. Like for the longest time, I would never eat chips. And like I remember being in high school and college, and of course, friends' parties and etc. They always had chips, but I would always eat the pretzels, never eat the chips.
Really?
Because it was just I would eat pretzels, but not chips. They were too fatty and too bad for me. it was that I had this rules, rigid rules, and I could see how some people can see, because I was doing a little research on veganism and eating disorders, and some were saying you should not be vegan after an eating disorder, and they were saying because it's just another way to restrict your diet. But I think it's all a matter of your reasoning, my reasoning for doing it. It's not because I don't want to eat cheese. I used to love cheese. I used to love cheese and things like that. But I don't want to cause any harm. So it makes it takes it all off the table. So and I will still eat cheese, but I'll eat vegan cheese. So I still have that, but I just it's different for me. It makes it more about not wanting to cause any suffering.
So
So.
let me ask you now you got me curious. Do you eat chips now?
Yeah, little chips now. Yeah, I haven't had chips in a while because of my mouth, So, but
Right.
the last time I ate them was maybe a week ago, and that's when I was like, oh gosh, this hurt. I can't really eat those anymore. So,
Do you
so
still eat pretzels?
yeah, I eat pretzels, but every now and then. Again, same thing. The
Right.
crunchiest things hurt my mouth. So, but yeah, but now it's like, but one thing I will not eat because this was huge trigger for me, is pasta. I will not have pasta
Right.
because
Well, I can
it just
understand that.
reminds me of eating it, and even though it may not be, just eating a little bit. Like, I will eat pasta if we're at someone's house for dinner. No, that's what's being served. But I will not go and make pasta for myself, or have Jamie make pasta for me, because it's just not something. It just reminds me of that, the memories of
Right.
throwing it up, and so
So
and
pasta,
throwing
pasta.
throwing up pasta is kind of gross. It's all stringy and long, and
Ugh.
yeah, it's kind of gross.
So
So
pasta is like your peas and carrots.
yes, pasta is my peas and carrots. Yes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really like, I mean, I could go on for hours talking about it, because it's like, in telling my story. There's so much more to the story, as everyone's story there is. This is just the Cliff Notes version, like a quarter tip of the iceberg.
What
But
I think you did a good job of letting people know, like the basics,
yeah,
because it helps people to understand what to look for, and
yeah,
you've touched on the tips of what the horror parts of it are.
yeah,
I mean, like you just said, we could go on, because there's the other horror parts of it, of being in the hospital, having your
oh
stomach
gosh,
pumped,
yeah,
drinking the charcoal. I mean,
yeah,
that's it's so disgusting. It's a disgusting disease, and
yeah,
I feel bad that you went through it, but I'm glad that you came out of it, that you came through it. Put it that way, because I've seen people go through the anorexia treatment.
yeah.
And
You've seen firsthand, yeah,
yeah, but forget that for the moment. I've just seen it, and the disgust, the things that it's disgusting enough what you do to yourself,
yeah,
but what the doctors have to do to you to bring you through it
yeah,
is. There's a commercial that says, "Be careful what you wish for," because you're wishing that you could just get through it, and the
yeah,
coming through it is like coming off of heroin. It looked like to
yeah,
me, the
yeah,
DTs of coming off of heroin. It was terrible,
yeah,
and just that charcoal pump to have your stomach pumped out. That's
yeah.
and having to go through it, and having to be force fed, and your mind is fighting your body, and oh, to put yourself through it. And I'm not saying that you put yourself through it, but to have to go through that is
Yeah.
so hard. And if you feel that you're going through it, or if you feel it's coming on somehow, or you know that you're having a mental conflict with yourself, the best thing to do is reach out to somebody
Yeah.
you can trust, whether it be your parents, or a school counselor, or a regular, a counselor outside, depending on how old you are. Somebody that you can talk to.
Yeah. It's
That
a friend or grandparent, or,
anybody.
aunt, uncle, and just to know you're not alone, because there are so many people out there like us. Like, it's like, I'm very lucky that I don't currently suffer, that I don't like not currently enact on any of my things. But when you're where you are an alcoholic, you always have those tendencies. So, and like when I first could not eat for a little while because my tooth got infected again, a product of my bulimia, I was losing weight, and so Jamie was getting really concerned because I was even getting very concerned because this was maybe a couple months ago. I lost maybe like no, not a lot of weight, but I lost maybe like 4 pounds. But for someone who's only 100 pounds, that's a lot of
Four
weight to
pounds is a
lose,
lot of weight.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like we are trying to think of things I could eat, but I legit couldn't eat anything. I was crying in agony. I'd be eating something and then have to take handfuls of Motrin and things like that, or not Motrin, but ibuprofen, etc. So,
Mm-hmm.
but but it was just we were conscious of it. So you always got to be conscious of it. So it's not like something you can just kind of like, oh, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
That was in the past, and so. But just know you're not alone, and that there are people out there to help you. Like I said, you can reach out to me, reach out,
Reach out to
anyone.
me.
Yeah. Jimmy has had experience in this matter too as well. So
And
so we're here to help.
just one more thing. If you get to be like that, where you can't eat, trust me. Now, I've had this myself. You do not want a feeding tube in you.
Oh yes, I had a feeding tube as well. So
that is no barrel of monkeys, my friends. That's
I felt like I was in the Matrix. I had a feeding tube in me, and obviously it had
the NG tube that
for my
takes it out. Yes.
the pee and things like that.
Oh,
And
the
then
catheter.
yeah, the
That's
catheter. I had a catheter.
that's a lot of fun.
Yes, and so I felt like I was in the Matrix. I don't know if anyone knows the Matrix. When Neo is born, he's attached to all these things, and because I was blind at first, I couldn't see, so I just felt like I was attached to things.
Exactly.
So I felt that I was in the Matrix. So
yeah, and if you're a guy, trust me, you don't want a catheter. Trust me. And there's another thing. You don't feel it going in because 9 times out of 10, you're under anesthesia. But when that comes out, buddy,
yeah, you will feel it.
They say take a deep breath. Well, I hope you can take a super deep breath.
Yep.
You see stars and dead people. Jesus. But you don't want any of that. So if you feel that if you ever feel like you have problems that you just can't handle, that you just can't, that they're starting to overwhelm you, get help. Wherever you can get it, get help. Talk to someone, talk to a trusted friend, talk to a professional, talk to your family doctor. Your family doctor can recommend you to someone, a professional. Your family doctor can prescribe medicine to help you get through it. Go to the emergency room. Go to urgent care. Go wherever you gotta go, but get help. It's no different when you have a mental problem. It's no different from having a broken bone or having a cold. A disease is a disease, and it has to be attended to. There's no stigma attached to it anymore. They're not going to lock you up in a straitjacket and put you in a dark, dank room with no windows. They're going to put you in a hospital bed. They may just give you a shot and send you home.
Yeah.
They may give you a pill and send you home. They may give you nothing and send you home and with an appointment to go see someone else. But trust me, it's not what you see on movies. You're not wandering around doing the Thorazine shuffle.
Yeah.
You know,
none of that.
Forget all that stuff. It's a disease. It's a sickness that has to be attended to. And you have it attended to just like you would. If you had cancer, would you say, no, I'm not going because I don't want people to know I'm sick?
Yeah.
Make sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah, and you got to take time, because I know for me, I was in like my mid-20s when I went away for treatment to Renfro. And even though I loved going, I loved being there. It was like a month of being at a camp. Then Hurricane Katrina came in and pretty much wiped things out. So I moved to another treatment center in Dallas, which was horrible. It was like Girl Interrupted. And at this point, I was not vegan, but I was vegetarian. and they wanted me to eat a steak was my first meal. I'm like, no, I'm not eating it. And I'm not eating it. And I said to them, I will legit will eat a stick of butter, but I will not eat the steak. So, but anyway, that's kind of besides the point. But take time. You are worth it. Take time. It may take you 6 months out of your life to get better, but 6 months of your whole life to fix yourself, to come to be find happiness, it's worth it. Believe you me. I wish I had taken, I wish I'd stayed at Renfro. I wish I'd stayed there in Florida, because maybe I my whole life would be different. Maybe, well, who knows? Maybe, the would coach should have game. So, but who knows what it would have been. So, but take time for yourself. You are worth it.
Definitely. So we're gonna leave you. We're gonna leave you with that. And I'm gonna leave you with one other thing that I usually save for the end of the podcast, but it fits in right here. No matter what, things can always be worse. Right now, there's somebody somewhere wishing that they were in your position. So things can always be worse. Never forget that. All right? Erin, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I know it wasn't easy. It's never easy sharing stories about ourselves.
Yeah.
But I know you helped somebody today.
Thank you.
I know you did. But we'll be back. We'll see you next time. All right, Erin?
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Well, that was some story, and believe me when I tell you, Erin could have went on for hours with that story. But as I promised, I want to give you a couple of things to look out for with your kids or your loved one. This way, it gives you an idea. It's not a guarantee that they are suffering from anorexia, but these are some things to look for that might give you a hint that they are involved, and you might want to discuss this with your doctor. If you see your kids suddenly wearing baggy clothes, now I'm not talking about this hip-hop stuff, where they're wearing their jeans below their ass and oversized shirts that come down to their knees. I'm talking about like sweatpants and oversized sweatshirts, and they always look like they're cold. Well, the fact of the matter is they're probably trying to hide the fact that they are losing weight. And you know what? They probably are cold because losing so much weight, they're making themselves anemic. So if you see suddenly that your kids, and the weather's warm out, mind you, and you see that they're wearing these oversized sweatshirts, oversized sweatpants, that might be a time to sit down and talk with your kids and maybe try to have them take the sweatshirt off and see what's what. And if they don't want to, maybe talk to your doctor and explain what your fear is, that you're afraid that they're dieting themselves to death. Another thing that you look for is if their eyes start to look like they're sinking in, if your cheeks are starting to look like they're sinking in, almost they're getting like a skeletal look. Their coloring is getting bad. Talk to your doctor. Right away, talk to your doctor. If they're starting to lose hair, yes, losing hair. Their hair is getting thin. Talk to their doctor. If you go into their bedroom and you happen to notice that there is a load of candy bars, a load of family-sized packages of cookies or cake or food of any kind, that like family size though, I'm talking about big packages. I'm not talking about like a Kit Kat bar or a Reese's peanut butter cup here and there. I'm talking about a lot. That's time to stop being worried, because what they're doing is they're stockpiling and they're getting ready to binge and purge. By binging, I mean they eat it all. And you can physically see their stomach expand, and then they vomit. And they vomit it all out of their system, and their stomach goes down again. My ex-wife used to do that. Her stomach looked like she was 6 months pregnant. She'd go in and vomit, and she'd come out looking thin as a rail again. That is so bad for your system. So, as Erin said in her story there that she was telling us, it killed her teeth, not to mention her stomach lining and her throat. The other thing to look for is air fresheners. If you see air fresheners, cans of air fresheners, pop-ups, if your kid starts burning incense suddenly, or they have the windows open in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night, could be snowing out. It contradicts them wearing heavy clothes, but they had the windows open and it's freezing out. That's because they have to get rid of the smell of vomit. Now, you may see also that they have boxes of plastic garbage bags in their room. No, your kid didn't suddenly become a clean freak. The boxes of plastic bags are there for them to vomit into when they do their binge and purge. The air fresheners are there to get rid of the smell of the puke in the room. The windows are open to get rid of the smell of the puke in the room. You see these things, contact your doctor. And believe me, please, don't start making excuses for your child's behavior. You may want to protect your child. That's natural for a parent. But your child needs mental help. And he's not going to get it by just going to the family doctor. The family doctor is going to recommend a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist may recommend that they go to a center and stay at the center to learn. It's the best thing for them. Because in Erin's case, Erin was lucky. Yes, I'm saying lucky that she had a stroke. She could have been dead. Do you know that 25% of the boys that suffer from anorexia nervosa end up at a high risk for dying? 25%. That's scary. 25% of the boys that suffer from anorexia, 9 times out of 10 die. It's a scary percentage. That's 4 out of 10. You don't want your child or your loved one to die. Sometimes you have to make the hard decisions. And don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. There's no one to blame for this. It's a mental problem. So please, just keep an eye on them. And one other thing. If your kid, if your child, if your loved one starts using drugs, this is why I don't like this thing with legalizing pot. But if all of a sudden you start noticing that your child or your loved one starts using some illegal drugs, mostly amphetamines, because amphetamines speed you up. And all of a sudden, you see your kid going out running every night or every day. If you see your kid wake up in the morning and do 300 sit-ups, unless he's a Marine, or he wants to be a Marine, or she wants to be a Marine, that's not normal. If they're doing 300 sit-ups in the morning and 300 sit-ups before bed, over-exercising is part of anorexia. And the amphetamines give them that oomph, that kick in the ass to do all of this. It'll also give them the oomph to have a heart attack or a stroke. So if you notice that your kids all of a sudden has all this extra energy, you might want to look into or talk to their friends, find out if they are doing any of this stuff. That fentanyl will kill you. It's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard on a parent. It's very hard on a spouse. It's very hard on a friend when they see a friend start to act out of the norm. So just keep an eye on them. It becomes our job to watch our brothers and our sisters. And, don't forget, if you just want to talk, you can always contact Erin or myself. You can come to our boards. Go to Erin's board at famousapple.com/that vegan disabled gal. Erin is a survivor of anorexia nervosa, and she's always on her board. And there's a lot of people on her board that are also survivors of anorexia. And you don't have to be afraid to talk on that board. Nobody is judging you. It's a no judgment zone, to quote a TV commercial. You can come to my board. That's famousapple.com/group. That brings you to living with a disability. I'm on Erin's board. Erin's on my board. Again, no judgment zones. There's people on there that have lived through these diseases and they're willing to help and listen. And there's people on there that are asking questions about it and talking about it. And they're making friends. You have like-minded people on both boards. So you don't have to be afraid of asking a question. No one's going to laugh. No one is going to make fun of you. Or we don't stand for that. We're there to help each other. We're a community. And you're welcome on each board. So please think about joining the boards. And I'm going to put some resources in the show notes for the podcast today that you can go and read about anorexia, learn about it, learn the symptoms, learn the signs. Places like the National Eating Disorder Foundation, great resource. And I want you to remember that An Apple a Day is brought to you by www.famousapple.com. And remember this, we're here for you. So become a part of our communities, and you can help others too at the same time. Remember that. You've been listening to An Apple a Day. My name is Jimmy Apple. My co-host today was Erin Fernandese. And we're here for you. Make sure to join us again next week, and we'll talk to you then. Have a great day, my friends. But before I leave, one more thing. The music you're going to hear on the way out was written, produced, is being sung by, and all the instruments are being played by Neil Kaplan. He is a member of both our groups, and he's a great guy. The guy is a phenomenal talent. You want to get in touch with him, you can reach him at either one of our groups, Erin's group or my group. And I'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the song, and make sure you're here next week. Take care, my friends.
Makes a difference makes a difference to this one. It makes a difference to this one. It makes a difference to each one. Every time you reach out to lend a hand, it makes a difference to this one. It makes a difference to this one. It makes a difference to everyone when you show just a little understanding. It makes a difference to this one. It makes a difference to this one.